Ever wonder how some policies and laws get introduced to Washington? Lobbying. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot, often with a sneer. But what does it really mean? Why does it evoke such strong reactions from people? In simple terms, lobbying is the act of trying to influence government decisions. It's a way for individuals like you and I, groups and organizations to make their voices heard by those in power. Think of it like this. You lobby your parents for a later curfew. You present your case, argue your points, and hope they see things your way. Lobbyists do the same thing, only they make money while doing it. They use their skills of negotiation to persuade politicians to support their causes. Only their conversations involve millions of dollars and have the potential to affect millions of people. That's the scale we're talking about. Lobbying is a complex and often controversial part of the political process. Lobbying is a big deal in American politics. It's how industries, groups, and even foreign governments try to shape laws in their favor. They hire lobbyists to advocate for their interests and push for policies that benefit them. This isn't always a bad thing. Lobbying can be a way to ensure that important voices are heard and that diverse perspectives are considered in the policymaking process. It can bring attention to issues that might otherwise be overlooked and help to create more balanced and informed decisions. But it can also mean that those with the most money have the loudest voices, drowning out everyone else. This can lead to a situation where companies or activist groups are heard over individuals and small communities. Welcome to another Capitalism Democracy video. We'll explore the good, the bad, and the ugly of this influential practice and see how it shapes the United States.
Let's talk numbers, shall we? When it comes to lobbying, money talks, and it speaks volumes. In 2023 alone, over $3.8 billion was spent on lobbying efforts in the United States. This staggering sum represents a multi-billion-dollar industry dedicated to influencing the decisions made in the halls of power. That's more money than most small countries' entire economies. It's a clear indicator that there is plenty of room for corruption. And it begs the question, whose ideas influence the United States, its citizens, or foreign countries?
Here's a crazy fact. It's not just American companies and citizens trying to influence American politics. Foreign governments also get in on the action. They hire lobbyists to push for policies that benefit their interests, even if it means bending American foreign policy in their favor. In 2023, foreign governments spent over $500 million on lobbying in the US. That's right, $500 million to sway American policy towards their national interests. From trade deals to military aid, these governments are playing the influence game on American soil.
So, who are the biggest spenders in this lobbying shopping spree? Let's take a look at this year's influencers. In 2024, the usual industrial suspects are still at the top of their game. These powerhouses have perfected the art of persuasion and influence. The healthcare industry, always a major player, continues to throw its weight around. From hospitals to pharmaceutical companies, their pockets deep, especially after COVID-19. With trillions of dollars at stake, pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, and insurance providers want to ensure that legislation works in their favor. They are relentless in their efforts to shape policies that benefit their bottom line. They are the biggest defender against national or free health insurance. Next up, we have the financial sector. This sector is no stranger to the halls of power, and they know exactly how to get what they want. Banks, investment firms, and real estate giants are masters at navigating the corridors of power. They employ an army of lobbyists to ensure their interests are protected. They understand the importance of shaping financial regulations to maximize profits and minimize risks. Their industry is highly regulated. Some think it is a way to maintain the balance of the classes. The government says it is to protect the economy. And let's not forget about big tech. These companies have become some of the most powerful entities in the world. Silicon Valley's influence has grown exponentially in recent years. Their lobbying efforts are focused on maintaining their dominance and pushing for favorable regulations. Tech giants are pouring money into lobbying efforts to shape everything from data privacy laws to antitrust regulations, ensuring their continued dominance in the digital age. They are determined to stay ahead of the curve, and being data gatherers, they have a foresight on future trends. The energy sector is also a significant player in the lobbying arena. From traditional oil and gas companies to renewable energy firms, they all have a stake in the legislative process. These companies are lobbying for policies that support their interests, whether it's securing subsidies for fossil fuels or pushing for incentives for renewable energy projects. Their influence is crucial in shaping the future of energy policy. Lastly, the education sector is making its presence felt. Universities, private schools, and educational organizations are all vying for favorable policies and funding. They are lobbying for everything from increased funding for research to changes in student loan policies. Their efforts are aimed at ensuring that education remains a top priority in the legislative agenda. In the end, these industries are lobbying for their companies on national soil.
Let's take a look at the top foreign lobbyists in Washington. In this segment, we delve into the intricate web of foreign influence that permeates the corridors of power in the U.S. Capitol. These nations invest heavily in lobbying efforts to sway U.S. policies in their favor, often with significant implications for international relations. According to OpenSecrets.org, the top 3 players in 2024 are no strangers to the Washington lobbying scene. First up, we have the leader in foreign lobbying, which is China. They have spent approximately $429,797,294 since 2016. China was at one point a major trade partner with the United States. In fact, a majority of goods used in the United States is manufactured there. In recent years, their trade influence has dwindled. This is partially due to their goal of ending U.S. world authority. They're followed closely by the country of Japan, which focuses its lobbying efforts on securing military aid or influencing foreign policy decisions. This country aims to bolster its defense capabilities and securing trade. They are one of the world's largest democracies and strategically important to the U.S. And rounding out the top 3 is the country of Liberia, who spent $353,114,848 since 2016. A major player shipping as it leads the world in ships registered home country. Most of their lobbying efforts have been focused on maritime policy. These countries, along with many others, understand that influencing American policy can have a ripple effect on the global stage. By shaping U.S. decisions, they can indirectly impact international markets, security dynamics, and diplomatic relations, making their lobbying efforts a critical component of their foreign strategy.
Why transparency matters. So, we've established that lobbying is a big deal. But why should you, the average citizen, care? Well, because lobbying impacts your life in countless ways. The laws passed or not passed due to lobbying efforts affect your healthcare, your finances, your digital privacy, and even the air you breathe. The problem is, a lot of this happens behind closed doors. Transparency is crucial. We need to know who is trying to influence our elected officials and how much money is changing hands. Most importantly, we need to know what they are lobbying. Without transparency, it's impossible to have a truly democratic system where everyone has an equal voice.
Navigating the gray areas of lobbying. Now let's be clear, not all lobbying is inherently evil. There's a difference between legitimate advocacy and shady backroom deals. Think of it like this. A group lobbying for stricter environmental regulations is different from a corporation lobbying to weaken those same regulations for its benefit. The problem is that the lines can get blurry. That's why we need strong ethical guidelines and regulations to ensure that lobbying serves the public interest, not just powerful special interests. Grassroots activism and its power. The good news is that money isn't everything. While it's true that lobbying often favors the wealthy and well-connected, there's another powerful force at play: grassroots activism. When ordinary citizens come together to demand change, they can make a real difference. Think about it: the civil rights movement, the fight for LGBTQ+ rights, the environmental movement, all were fueled by passionate individuals who refused to be ignored. In fact, you writing your representatives is a form of lobbying. It is a way of influence we as Americans take for granted.
The future of lobbying, tech, transparency, and public engagement. So what does the future hold for lobbying in the United States? For one thing, technology will continue to play a major role. Social media and online platforms have given citizens new tools to organize, advocate, and hold their elected officials accountable. Transparency initiatives are also gaining momentum. Websites like opensecrets.org allow anyone to track lobbying spending and see who's influencing policy decisions. It doesn't get into specifics, but does let you know who gave what to who. This increased transparency is crucial for holding both lobbyists and lawmakers accountable.
Reforming the system for a more balanced playing field. Of course, there's always more that can be done. Campaign finance reform, stricter lobbying disclosure laws, and stronger ethics rules for lawmakers are just a few ideas being debated. The goal is to create a more level playing field where everyone has a voice, not just those with the deepest pockets. It's a work in progress, but public awareness and engagement are crucial for driving meaningful change. The power of your voice, capitalism. Democracy is all about finding your voice through your spending and your opinion. Lobbying is a complex issue with no easy answers, but it can affect change. This is because one thing is clear: your voice matters. Stay informed about the issues that affect you. Contact your elected officials and let them know where you stand. Support organizations that align with your values. Remember, in a democracy, the power ultimately resides with the people. By staying engaged, speaking out, and demanding accountability, we can create a system where everyone has a seat at the table, not just the lobbyists and their deep-pocketed clients.